I'm so proud to be called an American, to be named with the brave and the free. I will honor our flag and our trust in God and the Statue of Liberty.
Many assumptions have been made about Lewis, the Marine who stunned a Tea Party crowd, and thanks to the web, massive numbers of people across the world, with his intense rendition of our national anthem's fourth verse. The 3-minute video has been, in its own right, something of a cultural crucible, provoking wildly divergent reactions and assumptions about Lewis, the Tea Party movement in general, the relationship between religion and politics, and more. With almost 10,000 comments made on the video, it seems many have formed hasty and inadequate assumptions of Lewis and the Tea Party movement. I had never met or even seen Lewis as I filmed that day, but like the others, I had my own assumptions about him. As I met him for the first time, I realized they were wrong.
Had too many tests in college.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, sir.
They wanted to meet you, and my youngest one wanted to meet you too. She said, I want to see him in person.
Well, here I are.
But Mom said she had to stay home. How many tea parties have you been to?
Only 2. Last year they had one at the same park, and I went there to mainly see what they were doing, and saw that it was a group of people just gathering together to talk about the issues of the day. And didn't seem like anybody was out there that was abnormal. Patriot and a conservative. Those aren't little segments of my life. It's part and parcel of everything that I stand for. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, once a Marine, always a Marine. There's no such thing as an ex-Marine. And as a Marine, I did take the oath to defend this country. Mm-hmm. And based on our family history, we've been here for every major war. So my question to me is, can I continue to sit on the sidelines as a Christian and not be concerned about how this nation is being run? We're to pray for our leaders. We're to pray that they will seek the will of God. And that is a command in Scripture. It's not an option. We're only talking about how this nation was founded. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that God allows us all to choose our own path. That's the great experiment on God's side of the thing, is when He created us as individuals in His image, He allowed us the freedom of choice. Mm-hmm. And that freedom of choice can choose either for Him or against Him. Mm-hmm. And He's big enough to handle that decision. So, no, I have no way of knowing what others believe. So it's a gathering of what I see as patriots, and it's a gathering to discuss the issues that are facing our nation. No, there would be no way I would say that others who don't believe as me, because if they're there, they're at least patriotic. Mm-hmm. And if they're there, they're saying they're at least interested in what this nation is facing. It's interesting that the national anthem is called the national anthem. They only sing the first verse at all the sporting events. If we have adopted the national anthem in its entirety as the national anthem, many, many years before I showed up on the scene, the author of the national anthem obviously wanted us to constantly think about the God who had His hand in this nation. Therefore, for us to remain silent, no, that's only their way of silencing the viewpoint that God exists. Mm-hmm. Christianity is a very rational faith. It's not a blind leap of faith. It's a belief in the historicity of Christ and different events down through the centuries, and even in the Judeo-Christian combination of the Scriptures, that God has had His hand in the work of history down through the ages. And we care to express that awareness, and for those to tell us to remain silent, that's actually trying to force their religion on me. And that's the truth of it, is you're forcing your religious viewpoint on me, whether it be atheist or some other viewpoint, telling me as a Christian that I need to remain silent. And that, how can you have it both ways?
Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come.
I've been involved with the Tea Party movement from the beginning, and as far as I remember, Lewis is the most devout Christian I've met. The fact is, the Tea Party movement is not and never has been about establishing any religion into our political system. But neither is it hostile to religious expression among citizens in or out of political office. The Douglas County Tea Party, the day Lewis first sang, was probably 97% free of explicit religious content, not because they were politically correct, but because they provided a platform from which all types of expression could freely flow, and the speakers said what they wanted to say. It is not freedom if religious speech is censored. No, those who would tell Lewis to sit down and shut up because of a so-called separation of church and state are the ones who should be ashamed for being heirs to the intolerance of men such as Vladimir Lenin.
Amazing